everyone, welcome back to Prairie Ground Reviews. Today we are here, like we said, to talk about Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 1. And this is going to be like a review / discussion thing, so you'll see we're going to try out some new things in this video, really just enjoy ourselves and not be so formalized. But as always, Nat, give this to you, but we haven't done it in a while. Hit that subscribe button and, ring that bell for notifications and hit that like button to help us with the algorithm. And we will be going into full spoilers for this. Obviously, there's no point in doing a discussion video for non-spoilers weeks after. Yeah. So, full spoilers. If you haven't seen the season yet, go check it out and come back.
Oh, I guess if you're looking for non-spoilers, you can check out Sebastian's short.
I do have a YouTube short, yes. Good plug-in.
But nobody wants to hear us talk about non-spoilers for 20 minutes.
No.
That's impossible.
Yeah, especially for this season, be dancing around everything, so it's be done. First things first, let's discuss kind of what you think of Stranger Things as a whole, and did you like this more than the last few seasons, less? Yeah, we'll go with Nat first.
If I'm gonna be honest, I totally forgot what happened the first 3 seasons when I started watching part 4. The whole recap video, I didn't remember anyone's name, so that was kind of rough. Season 3 is the one where Billy gets impaled, right?
Yes.
Correct.
What was season 2 about again?
That was the Mind Flayer, and Will's body was being taken over by the Mind Flayer.
Okay, and then season 1 when Will's in like the
he disappears down, right? And he's in upside down. Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't remember any of that stuff.
Fair
I
enough.
just watched Billy get impaled, and I was like, kind of remember that. And then the whole everyone's older now, which is kind of weird. But anyways, not bad so far. It was interesting, I guess.
Yep. I got to agree with that. You got to remember that season 3 came out in 2019.
That's fair.
Season 2 is 2018, 2017.
And
the first one was all the way back in
2016.
I didn't I didn't watch this thing until
COVID. Same.
COVID.
Me
so I
neither.
kind of binged the whole thing in one.
I binged the whole thing as well.
Bandwagons. Okay.
Well,
okay.
no, not bandwagons.
I had nothing else better to do.
I was being convinced by my sister that I'd love the show, even though I was afraid of the horror element.
So we got some COVID bandwagon fans in the house. That's okay.
Yes.
That's okay.
I mean, these are the same people trying to convince me to watch Riverdale, and we know how that turned out. So
that show is trash.
That show's bad.
That's not what this video's about. But if
It
somebody got this far and comments that, we will watch the show and make a video about that. I promise.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I watched it all in a day and a half.
same. I
Which,
did that too.
Looking back, I actually regret that, and I wish they do weekly episodes. Because, the cliffhangers mean a lot more. Because episode to episode, awesome cliffhangers at the end of just about every one.
Mhm.
It means a lot more when you have to sit and stew.
Yeah,
for,
that's very true.
6 days, right? Whereas when it's just next episode in 5, 4, 3, it's it doesn't mean anything.
And I think that's why Netflix decided to release it in 2 volumes this time, to try, because they don't want to leave from the binge method, because that's what they banked, that was part of their selling point, is that you don't have to wait the week to week that cable was making you wait. You could just start the show. But now I think they are realizing that other shows are getting more popular by going the week to week, so they're like, okay, we'll just split it in 2, but you still get a binge. But I actually didn't binge the show because I was watching it with my sister, so we had to make time where both of us could watch it. Yeah. So we watched about 2 episodes a night.
That's still pretty fast though, right?
We watched it in a week.
You get the wrong 2. That's 3 hours still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last episode being 2 hours kind of hurt.
It was a little
hour
bit
40,
hefty, but yeah, it's tough because if you go week by week, obviously your suspense is more.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, you keep people talking about it.
Yeah,
Longer,
that's
right?
You get 8 weeks of discussion here instead of
a week
and a half. This video's a little bit late, if I'm being totally honest with you.
But to be fair, with this season, I found that the talk is, at least where I'm seeing on social media, I've seen still way more talk about it because there's a volume 2 coming in
That's
the
the only
vicinity.
reason why it's that,
well, yeah.
Right? If this was already done,
it probably would have stopped at the end of this week.
Right? If it was that popular, we'd still be talking about whatever it was.
Well, Stranger Things is Netflix's most, it was their crown jewel show. It was the thing that kind of launched them into, we can do originals really well.
Yeah, and then they ran with it, which was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Quit making bad
Riverdale's
movies.
not theirs. That started on the
theirs?
CW. They bought it.
Yeah.
That was a mistake.
Well, then it took a nosedive, so technically.
It's exactly.
It is kind of their
it wasn't
fault.
theirs. They bought it.
But the interesting piece is Riverdale, another one of Netflix's big shows. And if I'm wrong about this, I'm wrong about this. But I'm almost 100% certain they've been doing weekly releases. And Netflix has done it with other shows.
Well, no, that's because it's still being released on the CW.
Confusing. Yeah, but you're doing the same thing on Netflix anyways.
But Stranger, that's because they don't have the full right. They bought it, but they still have to share the rights with the CW. So the CW releases week to week.
Mhm.
Netflix is not allowed to release it till
No, they
Stranger
can't
Things
get it.
is
They can't get
entirely
ahead.
theirs, and they back when Netflix was starting to get big, they're like, oh, you don't have to wait week to week to watch your favorite shows. You can watch them all now and just run through the whole season.
Yeah, well,
It might have been a
If you-
mistake, but that's what they banked on, so they're not going
if
back
you
on
pay
that.
attention to Netflix at all, you know they're not doing quite that.
Nah,
hard,
they're
so-
kind of actually their worst years since they basically started.
But I thought season 4,
Yeah.
at least for volume 1, it was pretty good. I thought it was better than the other 3. The separation of the characters takes away the overlapping that we kind of saw elsewhere. It's like there's too much going on, and it's been tricky in the past to like get everybody's character on board. You know what I mean? Like when
Yeah.
there's like 13 people. That's actually what Millie Bobby Brown was saying in one of her interviews. That she was wishing that they'd go more Game of Thrones and start killing people off because there's too many characters. But splitting them out,
It's surprisingly
It does
works,
that.
not gonna lie.
right?
Yeah.
You don't have this big group of this entourage wandering around.
No, because if it was like 20 of them riding their bikes around Hawkins, someone would notice. But no, I think this is potentially my second favorite season. Season 1 was still like really, really good.
Mhm.
And I mean, I really enjoyed season 2 and season 3, but like I said, I watched them all together. So
Yep.
like the hype never stopped for me because I was just like, oh, this is good. And
Yep.
like I really liked season 2. I remember in my mind when watching them, I had the thought that each season got better, but then looking back at them, I still think season 1 was my favorite out of the first 3. But season 4, definitely, we can touch on this, goes the darkest. It goes with the whole separation, goes the most horror. The directors, the Duffer Brothers, and the showrunners, they're both, but they talked about how they wanted this to be they called this their Game of Thrones season. They also called this, like, with the kids growing up, they're in high school now. In high school, the Duffer Brothers were getting into more horror films, so they thought, oh, we could introduce some more horrific elements in this show.
I did appreciate that for sure.
Yeah,
It was nice.
it adds a little bit of spice. It makes
The deaths
it
were good.
widens your viewership
Yeah.
a little bit. It shrinks it a little bit, but it widens it as well.
But it doesn't shrink it a ton because the people who were younger when 2016 season 1 came out, that could have been their first taste of like something a little scary.
And it's been like 5 years.
And
6
now they're
years.
old enough that this should be fine.
Yeah, that's not the shrink I'd be talking about.
They're like the younger ones
I don't.
coming
I
in
don't
on
think.
this.
Yeah, I don't. Anybody who was watching it in 2016, right? Like, isn't.
Yeah,
They've
exactly.
gotten older. That's not an issue. It's
It's for the new demographic, right?
you got a newer, younger demographic that picked it up late COVID, that watched the first 3 seasons, that might not be able to watch season 4, which
I mean, season
Could
3
be.
did kind of
Yeah.
scary, not gonna like that.
Season 3 was their like big blockbuster one, they called it, because I watched an interview with them and they were like, each season had like a theme they were kind of going on, and
Yeah.
season 3, like the mall, it was brightly colored.
Yep.
It was definitely they had the most comedy in that season. It was supposed to be their like summer blockbuster, their Jaws, their Jurassic Park, these these movies that do have thriller elements, but were also these big fun movies.
Right,
Yep.
I guess so.
So yeah, that's kind of. But season 4, I don't know. It had the most. Well, it had the biggest budget. They had spent $30 million per episode.
Yep.
That's a lot of money.
Which is huge for like any show.
Yep.
Of course, the length helped that they didn't really have to cut a ton. I'd assume they probably still did, but like,
Yeah.
you got to fully explore everyone. And I know some people have complained about that in terms of maybe being a little too like drawn out a bit, but I appreciated it because I'm a book lover. We all are, and I like when a book's longer and goes over things rather than a book be shorter and maybe skip out on a few things.
yeah, it's a super thin. It's a thin line, right? You got to ride it perfectly. Otherwise, I mean, somebody's always going to complain.
Yes.
There's no way around that. But I think like you said, they ride that line between too long and too short pretty well. And like, probably the best thing about Stranger Things right now is just the attention to detail.
That's true.
Everything. It's
yeah.
really tough when you go back 40 years to maintain those elements of like, this is the 80s.
This is 1986, yeah.
And I'm stealing this information straight off of TikTok, and I really wish I could remember who it was. But there's a guy that finds games in TV shows and then finds out what they were and when they were in reality. And so when the 2 cops are sitting in the house in Hawkins, right, watching the kids, That's not in Hawkins, is it? That's in Cali.
That's in Cali.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It's for sure in Cali. And there's a golf match on.
yeah.
That golf match is from 1986.
Oh, actually.
And it's like whatever day it was, either May or March 21st or 22nd. Like
That's impressive.
bang on when
That's
the show
impressive.
is supposed to be. So it's not like they just threw a clip in there.
No,
Somebody
exactly.
at the back end is thinking about the smallest details, right? Because there's
That's
gonna be
impressive, yeah.
there's like 8 people that are like nobody is gonna go find.
The
Very
smallest
few people are gonna
details,
go
right?
find what golf match that is. It really, grand scheme of things, it doesn't have to matter if you don't want it to. But it's the little things like that that make it really exciting for an audience that likes to delve into deep details.
Yeah.
Right? We come
Well-
straight out of the Marvel universe, right? You're looking at every little thing. So it's those little Easter eggs are
Well, I heard, again, you mentioned Millie Bobby Brown, and I heard her say something else
Yep.
in regards to that very thing, where she's like, if you see a car or the helicopter that flies around in season 4 that like goes to get Dr. Owens and all that.
Oh, right, yeah, yeah.
That is a helicopter. She said every helicopter was either from the 80s and had to be able to still function, or they had to paint it to look exactly like the ones from the 80s if they didn't have enough.
Yep.
So they try their best to be accurate as possible, and yeah, it's I appreciate that. I appreciate I appreciate the detail. I appreciate all the references, the little nods. Like, obviously, I haven't seen a ton of horror films. If you follow channel, I'm not a big horror guy. It scares me, but I know who Freddy Krueger is in Nightmare on Elm Street, and that, of course, was a big thing in the 80s.
Yep.
And they even got the actor to play the older version of Victor Creel. Can't remember the actor who played Freddy Krueger, but he played the Victor Creel with his eyes out.
Yep.
As a reference, they
Yeah.
wanted him to be that guy.
Yep.
And so that's like really cool, just the cool Easter eggs and things they do with that. What did you guys think? Well, you kind of touched upon this, but the separation of the storylines. Were there ones you found weaker than others? Did you think they were all equal? Did you think like they were all serving the story well?
This is
What do you think?
This is a really tough one. I'm gonna steal all your thunder here, probably not, but
Thanks,
it's a really tough one to discuss just yet because we got 2 more episodes.
That's
coming,
exactly the problem.
right. Like the Cali team hasn't done a lot. They've been hilarious.
Yeah.
They've given you pauses from all the intensity
Mhm.
that the other 2 crews have given us.
There's 3 because there's
Russia,
Hawkins.
California, Hawkins.
Well, the 11's kind of California, but she's her own thing
That's-
for most of the season.
Yeah. Well,
She's
for part of the season.
she's the after the first, I guess she's there for 2.5 episodes, and then for the remaining
I thought she was
4.
there for like half.
I think it's more than 2.5.
No,
That's
by
what
episode
pulled him,
3 she gets pulled.
Was
She
episode
spends
3?
most of the time in the stupid tank, going through flashbacks. I say stupid, not because I don't find it interesting, just because it's a tank that's obviously making her go through her trauma. But no, if I go, I could check here.
Yep, you spot check that. You spot check that as I go through the rest of my points.
Yeah.
3, 2, whatever the heck you want to call it. I find the other teams, there's a lot going on. You got big action scenes, big budget plays all over the place. You go back to the Cali team, it's a little bit more that comic relief in the form of like an entire cast
Yeah, it's true.
instead of just a character, right? They're giving you that pause, but there's still stuff going on, right? It's not like you flip over and it's like, oh, this is a 15
Yeah, it was episode 3 where Dr. Owens came to see Elle.
Interesting.
And
I thought it
Taker.
was. I thought it was much later.
Fair enough. So we got 3 more teams. I still think that they serve their purpose. The Cali team has their worth. It's really hard to
Yeah.
judge if any of them are like they're not all plot.
Well, we won't know till the end, right? We don't
Right.
know what's important till the end.
If something, because like there's 4 hours left.
Yeah,
It's so much time for something to either like lose importance
or gain.
importance, right? Like
Who knows? Maybe the Cali team ends up.
we're
Yeah.
not gonna go into detail of theories and stuff, but if
Right.
like say Nancy dies, does that team all of a sudden crumble and we lose power there?
Nancy doesn't die right away. And I just say this because I've seen the Volume 2 teaser. I don't know if you guys watched it.
I've not
I
yet.
not know.
Well, she's in a scene in the teaser.
Yep.
So at least she doesn't die right at being in Vecna's curse, right where we left her.
I don't.
She
think
gets
there's
out
either.
of that.
No.
She might die
I
at the
don't-
end of the
I don't-
season, but she
I don't
doesn't
think
die
that-
right then.
I don't think that keeps.
Everyone
her safe through
says
episode 8,
Steve-
though.
Everyone says
Anyways,
Steve
that's
is most
that's
likely
for
to
later.
die.
That's
Yeah,
for
we're
later.
theorizing
Absolutely.
later. But yeah, we're doing a theory video. Check that out in a few weeks. But anyways, on my point with that is I definitely think that I definitely liked all 4. I thought they both had all 4 had their purpose, but I think for the story purposes, Hawkins and Elevens were the most important.
well, that's the main point of the story.
And I still think that
I think the other two will
I think
do.
I
Like
think
I
Russia
enjoyed
will
them
end up
tons,
playing a much larger role
and I think California will too.
than
Honestly,
people think.
yeah. Well, Russia has to because
Cali maybe. It depends on what you want to do with Will. To be quite honest with you,
Pretty much.
you want to you could keep the depressing storyline going for another 2 episodes, and they come back at the end. I don't see that happening, but you could.
I think by the end
In
of season
theory.
4, everyone's back in Hawkins. I mean, sorry, that's a prediction, but I'm just saying because this is the penultimate to the season 5, and I think everyone's going to be together in season 5. Again, prediction, but that's just used for discussion purposes in this case. That I think that they are converging. That is kind of the point.
Is it me a 5th season?
Yeah, this
Fifth
is the
and
last
final, yeah.
5th and final. That makes
5th
sense.
and final season.
Interesting.
I don't want to dive into theories, but I actually think I disagree with you.
I think they have to be. I think that's the show is centered around Hawkins, Indiana for 3 seasons. I think that's the point.
I agree with that point.
And I think,
I don't agree with everybody being.
well, no, I think they are going to be
because I think
together.
we splinter.
I think we have to be together,
I
but
think we
again,
have to
that's the
splinter
theories
'cause we don't
video.
know where to go.
Well, no, because
I
I think the
don't know.
whole threat is out of Hawkins, because that's where the Upside Down's biggest.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean we keep everybody around.
I think all who are surviving the big final battle will be in Hawkins, so they'll all have to be there.
Maybe.
That's for next week.
If
We'll
I'm
talk
right
about
after
that.
season 5, he has to wear a bag on his head.
Season 4.
No,
Season 4.
Okay.
We'll find out at the
at
end
the
of
end of
season,
season 4, he has to wear a bag on his head. Because he never did it for when I was right about Hawkeye. If you were watching,
That is a
back then.
lie.
Oh, no,
I
he did.
100%
Did,
wore a
did he
bag
put
on
the
my
bag
head.
on? I thought he didn't.
100%.
I think
It
he
is
did
on
for a
our
bit.
it is on
Should
our
be.
YouTube channel.
I will check. If he did, then I apologize. But still, that's
If I did,
our
like,
bed
for a
rule.
brief second,
Oh,
he
it's
took it
not
off.
very long, but I still wore it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wore it in an actual video with the 3 of us. You wore it on Zoom.
I wore it for that our Christmas special
Yeah.
2021. Check that out.
Go
Alright,
look
Nat,
for our catalogs. Nat,
your
what did
thoughts
you think
on
of the
the,
splintering storylines?
I liked. I gotta say, I do understand why the whole Cali team was like the whole comic group. I didn't like that storyline all too much. It was kind of boring.
That's fair.
There wasn't much that happened there. I was more like invested in like Eleven's story. Not
Yep.
gonna lie, I really wanted to know what the heck happened because I know she was a bit of a loose cannon, in the first few seasons, but like the whole like killing off every child there felt a bit too far.
Yeah, I
don't know
didn't
about you
think
guys.
she did
I
that.
didn't think she would
Well,
do that. But
I did. Well, I only thought it the first time we saw the flashback, and then by the second time we saw it, I thought there was something off about it. Like they
Yeah.
kept going back to it.
then the whole ward guy. I don't know the little retainer person, who was actually one. I don't know
One.
what his role was before then.
Well,
He
he
was, like,
he
one
was
of the
he
nurses
was
or
he would have been
whatever.
one of the orderlies.
Orderlies. That's what it
Orderlies,
was.
yes.
Anyways, I thought he was kind of. I'd put it lightly, pretty sus. Not gonna lie.
Oh, he was sus.
Really weirdly focused on Elle the whole time, which is.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it means something near the end, which we'll
Yeah.
get probably to later. But I had a huge point I wanted to discuss, but I losing my train of thought because of everything else we talked about.
Trains
Fair
off
enough.
the tracks, people.
Exactly.
Okay. What I wanted to go to next was highlights. What were your favorite moments?
Can I say a moment that I wish happened?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, I just kind of wish
This is
that
going to be either really valid or it's going to be so dark. Just a warning.
I just wish Elle had her powers back a lot sooner and like wrecked what's her face instead of like smashing her face in with,
Oh,
like,
the bully.
the bullet. I forget her name. It does. She doesn't matter anyways. But
Oh.
instead of using the rollerblade, I wish there was something used her power somehow and just like twisted her arm off or something. Something
Twisted
like
her arm off.
more.
This is what I was talking about.
Because like Elle had to
That
deal
was
with so
still
much
pretty-
crap.
Well, that was still pretty violent, though. Honestly,
What-
She
what-
put a roller skate into her face.
She
That was
broke
it?
the bridge of her nose, and she was
That's it?
bleeding out of all of this.
So that's fine. She didn't take any like.
Yeah,
there
I
should have
know.
been more to that.
I know she would. The bully was
I just
awful.
kind of want her.
Yeah,
to take
vindication.
more than that.
Yeah.
Vindication. As
Yeah.
Zeb said, kind of wanted a bit more, and it'd be so cool finally to see her use her power against her. So it makes all the scenes before that have validation again, because she tried to use her power like. At
But
one
then if
point.
she uses her
Nah,
power,
it
she's
breaks-
exposed.
It breaks everything.
That's the whole
It
point.
breaks everything about Elle, although she's a loose cannon.
I guess that's fair.
It's a very invaluable foe.
Yeah,
It's,
it's a
true.
school bully.
It's
guess
Not
so.
the freaking mind
meaningless.
flayer.
It's
That's
uh,
true. But I just wanted to see
I know.
something there.
it's petty. And
Which they're teenagers, but still.
we probably lose Elle if that happens.
I guess that's fair.
Like she
become one in a
she
second.
would have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you don't dodge that charge.
No. Okay.
That's fair.
Austin, favorite moment.
Favorite moment of the whole season? Cause gots to be.
For me, it's down to 2.
I really liked the unveiling of Juanes Vecna at the end.
Yeah,
I like the scene with Max as well.
that's mine. Yeah,
The music one.
it's everyone's. It's the big one.
It's not. That wasn't a bad one. I thought that was decent. I don't know. It's a culmination of a whole bunch of really good scenes, but there's not. This is weird, but there's not a lot that jumps out individually. They do a really good job of making everything work together.
Yeah, I agree.
That there's not a lot of disconnect. We get TV shows where it's like, oh, that scene was awesome,
But the rest,
and the rest of it was
yeah,
hot steaming trash,
That's fair.
right? Whereas like it's like you get a really cool moment, but in the next 3 minutes you get another really cool moment, which is kind of why binging it is like drinking from a hose.
It's just constant.
It's like just sensory overload for 6 hours.
yeah. I
Say how
guess that's
cool
true.
the whole equivalent of our Salem witch trial that we had.
Yep.
The whole like hunting down what was
Oh.
it, Eddie?
Yeah, it's
His name,
hunting
right?
Eddie. Yeah,
I was kind of messed up in like so
with
many
the
ways.
basketball team.
The basketball
Well,
team went
but okay,
nuts,
apparently
though.
I found out this was real. During the 1980s,
Yep.
there was a very, very large Catholic bias against Dungeons and Dragons. They thought you would... The same reason Catholics
course.
hated Harry Potter and Percy Jackson and
Yeah.
so many things, that it's because they feel that if you can enjoy something that has elements of witchcraft, magic, the stuff that is condemned in the Bible, well, you are either being influenced by Satan, or you're a sinner, or you're going to hell. Like,
Yep.
they figure that like you can't just enjoy something as an imaginary fun game.
Mhm.
Yep.
And so there was like a manhunt against Dungeons and Dragons. Like, they tried to, like, people who played it were looked down upon. It's just, like, you were shunned. They tried to, kids were like forbidden from playing it.
Yep.
Like, it was a whole thing in the 80s in the States.
I guess that's fair. Yeah.
You know what's funny about the show, and it's just this could be discussed in numerous ways, but this show just makes me think about it. The idea of nerds, well, essentially nerds and geeks,
Yep.
being your heroes, because in modern pop culture, this is the time of the nerds. I'm not trying to, like, of course, sports and art and all that is super popular, but comic books and anime and superheroes and movies and like nerdy pop culture stuff
Yep.
is at its peak in 2022.
That's fair.
Last night in my sister's prom, one of the pop culture references were to Iron Man and Captain America.
Yep.
20 years ago, who knows who Iron Man and Captain America is unless you read comic books?
Yep.
Also true. Yeah. That's
So,
fair.
like, it's interesting to see a show centered around 8 nerds in the 80s who are these heroes who are saving the world all the time.
Mhm.
When back then it was like, you were
Now,
the basketball player.
You're right, but you're wrong at the same time. It's not a matter of, it's become more popularized by the MCU.
Well, the MCU is one of the things, but even like you look at Harry Potter,
Nah,
you look at
man.
Lord of the Rings.
Nah, man, reading comics is still not it for a lot of people.
No, it's,
That does not. It's not.
I think it's only the mainstream
that's
stuff
not a
that's
big
covered,
thing.
right? Like,
there's like a million comic book characters that nobody has a clue about.
Yeah,
well, think of
comic
Moon Knight.
books
We didn't
is
know
still
Moon Knight, right?
yeah. I mean, comics
Right.
is still
It's-
a more of a niche, but
It's gotten
it's
better,
become
but still a lot of the deep things, like even Dungeons and Dragons, man, that is still very much a thing, and that's still, I'm sure there's a lot
it's
of people
more popular now
that
though.
watch Stranger Things that wouldn't have a clue
that's also true.
how to play that,
That's
how
true.
it works, right? That it's gotten more popular, but at the same time,
It's still about the
I don't
same.
know if it has, because there was a ton of people that used to play that, right? Whether it was acceptable or not,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
because of the way entertainment is gone.
Mhm.
Even like any board game has dropped off the cliff because you can play it elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right. It's
Also true. Yeah.
a chicken.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Like it's no. The characters I'm talking about became popular because of movies. I'm not saying comics became more popular. I'm saying this culture that was nerd culture, that was niche, that got looked down upon, that has been
It's just been brought
into
a different.
Yeah,
medium.
exactly. I'm not saying that reading comics. I mean, I've read more comics now than well, no, my dad actually read a lot of comics because he was a Spider-Man fan. But I read a lot of comics because of the MCU, and people have been introduced to that. I definitely would bet people have played Dungeons and Dragons because of Stranger Things. I mean, I've played Dungeons and Dragons. It's a fun game, but like you have to like.
It
Yeah.
takes a lot of thought.
It does.
It does.
You need a really good storyteller
Exactly.
to run the whole shebang, because it's.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could go out now. I'm sure somebody's out here selling full games to people,
Oh yeah.
but that's not.
That's
At
not the
least to my
point,
knowledge,
right?
that's not how Dungeons and Dragons has historically been.
No, it's
Well, you
Well-
buy a set of some pieces and stuff, and then you have a dungeon master who creates a campaign, and you play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? It's
But you need someone who's a storyteller. He's right.
somebody has to be able to create that for you, and then more than just create it, react and adjust and build.
Right,
Because
that's
if your
true.
storyteller blows,
the whole thing blows.
you don't have a board to
Yes.
to move around.
Exactly.
In a circle,
Yeah,
right?
you're right. There's no board. Yeah.
Which is what makes like that part of Stranger Things and that.
Well, you
side
might have a bit of a
things-
board, but like not in the piece by piece movement. It's like you might have a little castle you put on the
You have
table.
props.
Yeah, props. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
That's
you don't
more
have a,
like
you don't have a board that you.
because it's mostly imagination.
and
Exactly.
move it around, right? Which is, and it lends to our characters. Tie this back into the actual show.
Yeah, so
It lends
that was
to-
just a discussion I wanted to bring
it
up.
lends
Yeah.
to our characters, right? Because you can see that Mike and Eddie have sort of this.
Dustin,
Dustin as well does a fantastic job,
Erica.
right? Of just sort of building that world building that the whole show does so well, right? And it's shown in a handful of our characters. Some of our characters don't have a clue, but
Well,
they bring
I'm
other,
sure Steve and Nancy are like,
they bring other
what is Dungeons?
they bring
and
other
Dragons
things to our show, right?
Yes.
So we let them get away with it.
stuff?
But
Exactly.
it adds an element, and it's such a big part of the show because every time something bad happens, what's it related back to?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, well, that's where like they come
So
up with all the
yeah,
names
yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, it's really cool.
Because in case anybody hasn't figured out, like, Demogorgon that may not be the
Official term.
entirely exact name for that thing. That's just what
They are
our
referred to
characters
as.
are
They took
connected
they
with.
took a few elements that were similar to this monster they were fighting and said,
And they
"This
just
is the
said,
Demogorgon.
this
This is
works."
Vecna. This is the Mind Flayer. Like all those things. Yes, exactly.
Which tells me we could be leading to something really, really cool in
in season 5, this would be a prediction video, but I've seen people discussing whether the Mind Flayer is still the big bad. I don't know.
That's a
Discussion
for
video.
later.
Discussion. This is theory video. This is the review. So to get back to the review portion, I don't know. I just thought that this presented a lot of cool, different things we haven't seen this season. I like the idea that the Upside Down has existed for a long time because it's not Vecna created the Upside Down. He got thrown into the Upside Down and became Vecna inside the Upside Down.
Yep.
But the Upside Down existed for a long time, and then we see like the Creo House and that whole history, which was really fascinating and terrifying. I thought all the kills this season were also quite
Very
intense and,
horror-like.
and brutal. The way that the
Yep.
body's contorted. That's honestly one of my big things that makes me like
Oh, I love that.
I
That was
I
great.
hate well like
That was
it
so
was
fun.
great, but I hate the contortion. Like even a contortionist who's alive is like the heebie-jeebies for me. I
Yep.
don't like
Fair.
when you can like
Human body should not be able to.
yeah,
move like that.
and when the eyes went into their skulls, yeah,
Yep.
not
It's
it
good times.
didn't like I didn't jump out of my seat and it didn't cause me anything, but still I thought it was the right amount of creepy.
That's fair.
That's fair.
It was really balanced. Not gonna lie.
It goes to you, sir.
Yeah. Overall, I think this is probably my favorite season. That or like probably season 1, honestly.
Yep.
Season 3 kind of dropped the ball a bit for me, if I remember correctly. It's
Fair
kinda
enough.
long and drawn out. But anyways, I guess the first part of season 4.
Yeah,
was
we
great.
still do have volume
I
2.
do love all the horror elements. It was nice, like a nice change of pace, I guess.
Yep.
I guess as everyone grew up.
Nice
with
to
it,
have a villain with a mouth.
but that's also very true.
True.
I do like that how like the whole storyline of how one turned into Vecna. That was really cool. Don't know how all the lightning factored into all that because I feel like he should have died. Like getting zapped.
He
by
was in
lightning.
like the Upside Down
That's
though,
also
so we don't
true.
know how
So
it
maybe
works.
he got powers from that. Anyways,
He already had powers, so it would have maybe that
maybe
helped
that
him.
just
Yeah.
was like a whatever thing for it. But anyways, pretty cool like season overall so far. I'm excited to see what happens, and I guess we'll find out soon.
Yeah. Your final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm along the same lines as you guys. I think the plot has been really good so far. We leave enough doors open for the last 2 episodes. I don't think we close all of them. I don't think we get anywhere
No,
close.
no.
I honestly think that the last 2 episodes are gonna kill off a couple characters,
I sure hope
Um,
so.
I think it will too.
destroy a couple of relationships, which is why I don't think we see everybody back.
Mhm.
I think we hit a period of calm right at the end. Like I think we do get a true denouement, which is going to help us a ton.
Yeah.
But, like we got a lot of doors to close, which gives me hope for Volume 2.
Yeah.
But like Volume 1 did its job. It got a lot of
Seconding
people
up, right?
got a lot of people back into the show.
Yeah,
We've
exactly.
had 3 years off. It's really, really tough to
Come back really
grasp
strong.
that
right?
audience, right? And they've done a really good job, and now they've
Critics and audiences.
staggered their release so you can get people hooked and then drop your big budget episodes, drop your hammer on July 1st, which is the greatest day of the year. Just putting that out there.
We're Canadians, so screw you, Americans.
Nothing like dropping it on
That's on the
Canada
internet.
yet. But yeah, I think it'll be really good. I thought this was, like you said, the best season yet. Our characters are still rocking and rolling.
They are
doing their
indeed.
jobs. I love the separation. It would have been a mess if season 4
Had
was
been
all
all
of our
together. Yes, I
characters.
agree.
Yeah,
because you either would have had
too many.
too much going on, too many characters to dive into our character stories, or it would have just been overwhelming.
That's
Because it
also
would have
true.
been one great big storyline, and then the bigger piece. This has got to be why writing TV shows are so daunting. Is you had one shot, and you had to keep people engaged for like 12 hours, or whatever it is. It'll be pretty much 12 on one story.
Yeah.
Whereas
True.
now you've bounced people here, and now you can focus them down into one storyline for like a
The
movie
last
length,
bit, exactly.
right?
Fair.
2.5. I think it'll work out really well, and I thought it was wonderfully done through the first 7. I really enjoyed it. Binge worthy. Just split it up for season 5. I know they're not going to, but a guy,
They might do a volume 1 and 2
a
again.
guy
I
can
see.
wish.
Yeah.
Oh, I think
I
they'll
can't-
For sure do
I
that.
can't really add anything. They've basically summed up all my thoughts here. I will just say, yeah, great season. Probably by the end will be my favorite. I'll say by end of volume 2.
Didn't you go first?
Yeah, I thought you did one first.
No, I didn't really give a final thought, or I didn't think I
I know
was.
it
giving
says
a
final
thought.
thought. It was
But-
great. And
But
Seb-
anyways, one more
Seb
final
likes this
reminder.
show.
One more final reminder. We have a website, PrairieGroundReviews.com, if you want to check it out and read written reviews on books, games, and movies. And we have some links to our YouTube stuff as well.
Yep.
And from everyone here at the Prairie Ground Reviews team. See you guys next time.